Every founder and CEO I talk to has the same exact problem. There's just not enough hours in the day, in the week, the month, or even the year, really. And too much of the time that we have goes to things that could and should be automated. Hi, I'm Travis McBurney. I founded McBurney Group, where we build custom AI solutions for your specific operations. We train your people how to use them and help you think clearly on where and how AI can help your business. The point just isn't just about saving time. It's also making sure your business can keep up with AI as AI changes, what competition even looks like.
Hi, Niamh.
Hi, Sharon. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How you're doing?
Very good. It's Friday, so I'm pretty happy because I'm heading off to Malta tomorrow for a couple of weeks' work. So I love going to Malta. We've got a big quantum team down there. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Firstly, thank you very much for being on my show and accepting to be on my show. I've gone through a profile. I can see you're doing great work. So I thought to tell about your work to my audience. So can you please introduce yourself to my audience?
Absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity. You've had some great guests, and the conversation always kind of just flows really nice. So, absolutely delighted to be here. So, I'm the co founder of Emergegen, which is a data AI data platform company on the cusp of integration, quantum fusion. So, it sounds like we're trying to solve all problems, but we started at the core data level, on the data platform level, to solve for fragmented data and unified data, Sharon. So we wanted to build the foundations for agentic technology, and we have done that. And now we've just started to introduce secure quantum communication between our agents, and we filed a number of patents in the last few weeks, worldwide patents, which is very exciting. So it's going to bring us to the next frontier now of secure communications for agentic AI in obviously multimodal ways as well for data centers, and obviously it's going to eventually take us into space, which is going to be very exciting as well. So yeah, it's very, very exciting time in technology at the moment.
So you are based in?
So we're based in headquarters is in New Jersey in Red Bank, and then we co-locate between the Isle of Man and New Jersey. We also have a quantum team down in Malta, which is a great location for tech as well, which is very exciting. And then we've got people kind of remotely as well, kind of all over as well, Charan. But yeah, HQ is New Jersey in the United States.
So what problem that you exactly want to solve with your, or you
So
came up with the solution?
yeah, so I guess a long time ago in around 2012, between 2012 and 2014, I started looking into knowledge graph technology and how knowledge graphs could really help with attributes and data. And I went back to study law at the time, actually. So I was in law school, and I thought that it was really interesting that I had been in business for so many years, but still when I'd be applying for what's called as the milk rounds in Europe to become an associate in a law firm, that they wouldn't even know who I was, or they wouldn't have any data as to what I did really well in my business, because I was an entrepreneur for like 8 years before I went back to study law, went back to law school. So we started to look at knowledge graphs then in 2012, but of course we were so far ahead that I remember in one meeting I was looking for like a grant. Like in Ireland, you kind of have your local enterprise office, and there's different programs where you can apply for grants. And I remember when we were at the judging panel, and one of the members of the judging panel said to me, like, I don't mean to rain on your parade, but I just don't get it. Because we were so far ahead, Sharon, that people couldn't even imagine that you would be looking at things like, my attributes rather than whether I got a first in my law degree or what things would make me a good associate with that law firm. So the journey kind of started there in my first tech company, in looking at how data could be used to make better decisions. So we've been on a journey for a very long time and had multiple companies after this. So we were always kind of looking at the next step for us was to try and solve PII in another company, in a privacy company. And then we were looking at how you could actually read and get context from documents. So there's kind of been like 4 or 5 iterations of the same problem to be solved. So now when we get into a room and you've been kind of doing it that that far back. It's just a case of that you've been doing it longer than everybody else. So what we decided to do in this company was to go a pure platform, so a pure data platform. And when we were trying to solve for it, we were thinking, well, knowledge graphs is the obvious answer because we had experience in knowledge graphs already, and we knew how beneficial the knowledge graph was as like matching relationships and knitting the data together. So we decided to stitch it the other way around, where we would stitch from the unstructured data into structured data. And we realized that nobody was doing this. So then we started automating the ontology. We started doing this 3 years ago when nobody else was talking about ontologies, only Palantir. And now suddenly everybody's talking about knowledge graphs, ontologies. So it's sort of like we kind of like educated the entire market, to be fair. And now that we've got so good at it that we're now looking at how we can now build upon all that hard work and launch our agentic solution, which is the secure communication between agents. And what's beautiful about this secure communication with agents, I can speak to it on a high level, but obviously there has been intellectual property that's been registered, Sharon. So I'll just be mindful of that. So now when our agents communicate, you have one is the lamp and one is the lamb. So the lamp is very like excited about being able to solve all these problems autonomously and do this great work within the organization. It's moving along the organization, it's making amazing decisions, and it can do it on its own. But then the other agent, which is sort of like the integrity agent, the truth agent, the self-sacrificing agent, is able to look at what this agent is doing and go, that's not very good. I think we need to change this. You can't carry this piece of data on to the next task because it's corrupted or the integrity is not there or it's not the truth. So then the other agent is basically self-destructing the agent's knowledge, and is sacrificing the work, that part of the workflow. So it's moved on that quickly. And this is on secure quantum circuits as well, which is what makes it like even more exciting. So now the companies have like, felt that they've been in the AI kind of adoption cycle and hype for so long, and they've taken on all of these enterprise tools. Now they're starting to think like, is it secure? Have we got secure AI? Are we able to like protect our own knowledge within our institution? So institutional knowledge. And are we able to scale this? Or are we just putting it back into LLMs that the whole market has access to our data and our clients' data and stuff like this? So this is kind of like that novel next step in where agentic AI is going, and we're right in the middle of it, which is really cool actually, because we've seen it from protecting PII at the very start when GDPR regulation was coming in Europe, Sharon. So we've been there the whole way up to see the emergence now. That's why our company is called Emergegen. When we were looking at a way to name what we were going to do next, we were thinking, well, it's got to be about emerging technology, right? It's got to be something where you bring all these things together. And now when we're seeing the emergence of the agentic workflows and everybody's using agents, and actually how intelligent are they? And I like to think of it more of like not intelligence, but sort of that kind of wisdom that organizations are trying to hold on to, like their own knowledge, their own relationships, their own experience. What you can see from the latest like mergers and acquisitions is like these big firms and big tech, they're just buying knowledge now. They're just buying knowledge. They need more knowledge for their AI to work better, for their customers to feel confident that you can deliver solutions based on their knowledge. So I think what people are trying to preserve now is that it's kind of moving from intelligence, because really is artificial intelligence that intelligent right now if it's all based on Gen AI? So we're seeing ways that people want to protect their knowledge, protect their relationships, protect their clients. And I think that's where secure AI come in. And we've seen an example of this recently with Kirkland and Ellison, I think it is, in the US. So this is the biggest law firm in the US. I don't know if you've been following the story about Palantir. They are investing 500 million with Palantir over a 5-year period to build a layer of their knowledge within with their global law firms and their practices, Sharon. So we can see now that people are starting to say we want our own knowledge layer and we want to do it internally and it's inside. So I think the LLMs have not had their day, but they still have obviously, they still have their use and they're helping people save time. But what we're seeing now is people are like, oh, did you use AI for this? Has this been AI generated? And as a rule, I don't use Gen AI at all. I don't prepare any documents, emails. I don't send out anything Gen AI and LinkedIn, or I don't like refine my posts or anything, because I believe that, it should come, what you're saying should come from you. And that's just what always has been my stance on it. And then, of course, now I don't know because you spend quite a bit of time on LinkedIn. It's all about like slop AI, and people are starting to question, like, what is this AI even doing? You know, it's kind of that kind of like, is there a little bit of a hangover now from Gen AI a little bit as well? We're kind of seeing it with our customers, especially the customers that said 2 years ago and the clients that said 2 years ago that they could solve it using an LLM, and now they're back realizing we can't do this with an LLM. So it's moving along that way. And also, I think what's kind of what frustrates me as well, especially in the legal industry, because I want to speak to you about our new legal AI that we're launching in September, is that everybody in legal is just talking about Gen AI like that's AI, like that is it, that's the whole world of AI. I was just thinking about all these like other things that we're using on a daily basis, like recommendation engines and like all these things that we're already using so much, a long, long time ago. And it just seems to be that now AI has nearly even been dumbed down, and you can kind of see the whole like you just see like a couple of posts going like like viral on LinkedIn. There was a recent one with Reese Witherspoon's where people were saying that she was pink washing AI because she was saying, oh, females aren't really using AI enough, and I think we need to increase that usage. And then she got accused of like pink washing or girl bossing. Why aren't girls using AI? It's like, guys, like we use AI every day of the week. When you go onto your phone and you try to book something, there's AI working in the background. You're getting suggestions. You're getting all of this. When you're on Amazon, you're using a lot of AI, right? So I think that's been kind of frustrating as a woman in AI, thinking, girls, this is not it. This is not like the holy grail. This is not what AI can do. Generate emails and documents. And, if you're a part of, I don't know, like soccer mom, or like you're doing things with your kids, it's not just about like generating terrible images using ChatGPT or others. Um, so yeah, that's where I am. It's a very exciting time, though, I have to say, because I think now people's heads are kind of going, oh, well, like this can actually improve our lives. But of course, there's risks that come with that. And then with the risks, you have to put in the secure AI part, which I've been speaking to you about, where it is based on your organization's knowledge, it is secure, and you're kind of protecting yourself from the risks and the harm that AI can do as well.
So what all this image AI can able to automate, and how it can be helpful for the organizations, and what scale organizations can use this?
So I think today, if it was today and you came to me with a workflow that you wanted to introduce, what we built was 2 years ago, I started looking at how, because I come from the legal profession in terms of like compliance work and regulatory work. So I really needed to kind of look at, how you can have the audibility, Sharon, in a workflow for AI. So what I decided to do was, and I had a lot of resistance from the team because remember, we're surrounded by a lot of techies. And we were doing various technology partnerships as well, where you would have a technology partnership with somebody that has like, a centerfold, or, like has beautiful looking dashboards already. So it's sort of like, why would we make a decision to do our own kind of like central set system, which we call Data Central? So what we wanted to do was we wanted to have a way that people could collaborate and do AI models together. So that like I would have access to your data in the organization, and you'd have access to my data. And then we would decide like what data we would use to create our own AI model. So, and at the early days, I was saying, well, look, if I can create an AI model, and like I'm from a legal and a business background, then anybody should be able to use AI in this way by collaborating and have like controls in place as to who has access to what data, and then how the data is used and shared, and what the output is going to be from the AI model. So we started running everything through Data Central, and it has served us so well because now we've done a full end-to-end integration with Snowflake. So we operate as a container inside Snowflake. And in the early days when we were integrating with Snowflake, I think with the technical team at the time were saying that it was like putting a brain into a can of beans. So literally like a full brain went into this can of beans. And of course it just literally like spat out everywhere because you were trying to get the machine to read and understand the data and bring in the context, Sharon, at the same time to get the output for the customer, which is what they wanted. And then we ran the knowledge graphs, and then we started to automate the ontology. So we've automated the ontology. We have a beautiful knowledge graph base where you can pull the relationships and see. So if you're doing like data investigation or you're doing M&A, it's absolutely perfect for that use case because you can literally see everything. You can see jurisdictional stuff, policies on that jurisdiction, any laws you need to think about if you're moving into that area. You can pull up things like all the leases, all the end dates for the leases, and have it all in front of you before you're making decisions. And this is all like in real time. So that's what we do. We bring it from like zero to hero, I would say within 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we have an idea as to what your use case is going to look like. And the only other company that you can do something similar with your ontology with and have full vision on, you know, your whole organization's data would be a Palantir. And Palantir obviously takes a long time to onboard, sometimes nearly 1 to 2 years, we've been told by our clients, and a lot of dollars on top. Whereas, you know, we're a lot leaner. We're like a team of 24, and we're just the technical knowledge, I would say, within the team is just what gets us those results for our customers really, really quickly. And I don't think there's anything we haven't seen, because we've been working with data so long, and we've been working on the privacy side and the data protection side for so long, that there's nothing that we haven't really seen or dealt with before. So I think that gives us a good competitive advantage as well, with our customers.
So which industries will get benefit with this mechanism, and which businesses will can able to use this technology?
So we went really deep on 3 areas for the core technology stack. So logistics was one that we wanted to tackle, because the third-party logistics companies, they're having to bid like in real time for slots and transport and logistics and things like that, Sharon. So we wanted to see if we could deal with all of those rate cards and if we could start doing those calculations. So we went really deep on the logistics side. Also on the security side is where we focused, and then on your general like asset management, insurance, anything that has a contract, or things like covenants, where you kind of need to understand very quickly what your risks are, and then how you can, you know, get things out. Like, for example, if you wanted to find out what the EBITDA was. The successful POVs really ones that move to can you hear me okay still? Yeah.
I
Oh,
can
good,
hear
because
you.
I'm getting a prompt
Yeah.
here. Would be the ones that have a woman in the loop. So we've looked at all of our, you know, what's gone from, you know, people say like what moves from pilot into production, into full scale production. And what we have noticed is that when there's a woman in the project team, and when a woman is bringing the, you know, the making decisions on the output from the use case and what's actually going to be used in the AI for the whole firm, those use cases are moving to production a lot quicker. So we've seen that from like a 4-month period, when you've got a woman in the loop making decisions and bringing things and helping us with the data set, the data strategy. Otherwise, sometimes it can be 9 to 10 months when there's no woman on the project team. So with our new solution, because obviously a female co-founded company, we've decided to always make sure that we have a woman in the loop on our team. Because obviously Data Central was created by me, who I'm a woman, and also we would like to invite women to contribute to the knowledge of our legal AI platform. Now we're boldly going where no one has done before, and we're saying that in a sort of a matriarchal way, we're saying we should look at why women can help AI systems to work better, faster, and sort of provide that guardrails that, you know, obviously when I was like sending around a document as to why AI pilots were failing, Sharon, I was so surprised that, like, you know, a lot of people were saying that possibly they were failing because of men. That might sound controversial, but it's true. It is true. And I'd love to hear some of your other guests. I'd love to hear their opinion on the fact that maybe AI is failing because of men. And so I spoke to my CEO about this, Chris Harrison, and it was really funny. So I was like, look, this document is going around and we're trying to solve what problem are we trying to solve? And I said, like, it might sound funny, but we're trying to solve a problem of men in this workflow in the use case, on the legal use case. So straight away he went on to his agent, because like he has his agents that's finely tuned internally to things that he wants to ask the market, and he's got a lot of market data, Sharon. He's been in Wall Street for over 40 years, right? So he's seen it all. He's seen everything. He's been at like trade desks. He's seen the problems that people are saying they've solved and they haven't solved. So within about 5 minutes, he had brought up that there's like 47 to 50% of women in legal counsel roles in all the top 500 companies. He told me that there is, I think, 48, no, more than that, 52% of all of the females in Congress all have law degrees, all went to law school. I was like, okay. But the funny thing about it is that he made his decision based on the data from his agent in that moment to say, yeah, let's do this. Let's put a woman in the loop on legal use cases, and let's do it, because he was satisfied that he had everything that he needed to make a decision based on the data that he wanted to trust within the LLM that was giving him the answers. And that kind of raised a really serious question for us internally. We were saying, okay, so if we want people to trust the data that they're asking questions of within our organization, we have to make sure that it's secure, it hasn't been tampered with, and that you can actually trust it. Because without that, everybody's trying to deploy their agents and thinking that they're great, Sharon, but what are they built on underneath? So that's why we're just so excited about launching the legal AI with a woman in the loop specifically, because it is so important, because there is so many risks with having the wrong data, with having data that's biased, with having data that hasn't been verified within a data system that's going to give answers that are going to carry on and carry on. So it's kind of like, if it's a lie once, it's going to be another lie and another lie on top of another lie if it's not true, right? And we've all found that. I remember last year, for trying to book something for a New Year's Eve party, went on to Google, and I was trying to find somewhere in the Cotswolds. It's a really pretty place in Birmingham. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's outside Birmingham in the UK. So we said, right, we'll go there and we'll do it, because the kids are getting a little bit older now. We have 4 kids, and I was like, we will go and see. We'll try and get to see fireworks, right? So they were really busy because around Christmas time, so I couldn't verify that there was going to be fireworks at the property. So I went in and like I just did a little search in Google, and I was like, yes, it's really likely, and for all of these reasons, that they will have it, and they have family celebrations, whatever. And I said, okay, so I went ahead, completed the booking online, and then after the person had a chance to reply to me, was that no, we wouldn't have fireworks in our place because we're like a nature reserve. We're not allowed to do any fireworks, but Google's AI mode was telling me that they do them. This property does do them, and blah, 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 and all the rest of it. I was just like, wow. So when we do get AI mode now, like in Google or like through Gemini, like the only verification that's coming from is maybe it was in a publication or a newsletter that the Cotswold had a beautiful fireworks. So then Google thought, oh yeah, like, it's on a lake. Of course they're going to have it, right? They just made a guess. So we want to say to people that use our legal AI is that there's no guessing. There's no guessing. And also that we don't want you to silent quit on AI, because let's be honest, everybody's silent quitting on AI right now because they're afraid they're going to be made look bad. They're afraid that it's going to end up in the Wall Street Journal or the New Yorker, that it was like and sometimes they're blaming AI for these massive boo-boos that were created by a person, a human as well. So I just think it's been very interesting to see that play out as well. Yeah, interesting times.
So data, it plays with data. So what about security, data security?
So on security, it's only as secure as your systems, and that's why we went, like, it took us 12 months to fully integrate with Snowflake, because the benefit that being on a native app within Snowflake, Sharon, gives us that edge, because we've got that security of like being completely within their containerized. And also, by bringing in quantum as well, you're like adding an extra layer of security, and that like kind of that encryption part of it as well. One question though on the security of the data, which is interesting, is like a lot of big sort of M&As recently. I'd like to speak maybe to the Informatica one with Salesforce, because I was kind of watching that very closely to see how that would play out. So you're getting big tech, being able to monopolize now on data. And I think that that's something that I'm a little bit uncomfortable with. And we saw it as another Salesforce acquisition just last month was with FinAI, previously Intercom. They rebranded now. An absolutely incredible use of AI for a particular use case. Again, in a very niche area, customer services and doing responses. But I think it was like 30,000 or 40,000, like lots of clients' data then goes into Salesforce as well, on top of the Informatica's data, and like all of the data management that Informatica have been doing through the years is now like sitting in a controlled space. And I think what that does is you kind of just have to look at, I guess competition is one thing that never gets spoken about when you have these big acquisitions, but it's like, better data means better AI. And I just think as a startup, you're kind of, you're entering into like technology partnerships with big tech, and you've got novel technology. And I just think that it's just, again, just another way that like it's not really there's not like really any market surveillance on the cost of data monopolies. And I think that that's going to be something that we're going to see play out a lot. I'd also like to think that now, like AI is going to change things up in terms of, access to different products, whether it's banking in places that are like lots of people are unbanked and they haven't got any bank account, they've no access to mortgages, they've no access to finance. And I think that, if we kind of see like it's the genie's out of the bottle now, right? I mean, like AI is out there. You've got smart people that can do really clever things very quickly. And I think that it's going to get very interesting that how it's going to be contained. And there's only a certain amount of regulation that's going to be able to contain AI now. And that's why it's just really important that, people don't get deterred by the headlines and kind of pull back on how innovative they are because of regulation. There's a lot of really cool things that you can do with AI that, opens up a whole new world to a lot of people, which is going to make it more equitable. And I think that this is possibly the biggest opportunity that women have ever had. If they can actually come together, we can actually come together and unite and see ways that we can, stop complaining about how our knowledge is used and actually create systems where our knowledge gets used forever for good and for better. Because I think that's sort of the real opportunity. And I think by putting a stand in the market and saying, well, look, women have just entered the chat for AI, that we're saying, look, we want to share our knowledge with you, but we don't want to inherit a system that's already biased. We don't want to inherit systems that we've got no control on the workflow. And that's what my intention was with Data Central, was that you start creating your own AI from scratch, and that you can show every decision that was made in the model, because lots of people have contributed to the model as well. And I think like this day of kind of like, oh, it's already baked in, or it's already in the model, I don't think that's going to wash with women that want to contribute to AI. So I think that's what kind of Reese Witherspoon's was kind of saying in a nice way. Come on, get on the train and make a difference, as opposed to you have to use what's already there. And I think that's why systems like Harvey and Legora, like when they kind of did these big ad campaigns with like male actors, I kind of like they lost the women in the room, Sharon. We were like, what? It's like, what about like, using a strong woman? Because like there's 52% of women in leadership positions in the legal industry. And it's sort of like a little bit of kind of read the room a little bit better. You want us to use it, but you want to use Judd Law in your advert. I just think it was really distasteful, and you kind of like lost the attention of a lot of women. But I think definitely the sharing of knowledge, the preserving wisdom, so that it doesn't get lost in translation, and also so people just don't start accepting what Gen AI is creating and taking it as the new norm as well, because it's not cool. Yeah, everybody speaking the same way, everybody like taking the same examples. It's like, uniquely, like humans, as we know, are inherently messy. So without having a human to kind of, be involved in how the end product should look, and just like create this like artificial sort of humanity, then it would be just such a great loss not to have people contributing to it, because they're sort of afraid of it as well. So I think that that's really important, that we don't kind of lose the essence of, like, AI has to mirror a human. It has to, it has to be trained on our knowledge, and it can get conscious to a degree that, it can, obviously, it can have context now, it can have understanding, but all of the knowledge that it has come from a human. So it's really important to keep humans in the loop, but also, I think, just as a sort of a protectionist, I would be of the view, and just from the successes that I've seen with the clients that have women leading on the project, are the ones that succeed, and we have the data to back that up as well.
So human is a nature product and AI is a human product. So as a developer,
Yes.
how much you are succeeded in making the AI close to human?
Well, I think just by bringing in that, not carrying on data that hasn't had an integrity check is the first step. And I think just having, ways like a kind of a kill switch. I think it's really important that when, because, agents are getting very clever. They're doing lots of tasks and they're making decisions because that's what they're programmed to do. You want to have a chance where, you can have a kill switch where you kind of have that integrity check to kind of like shut the system down or not let it go any further. I think that's really, really important. I think just in other kind of industries where, because, I wanted to have a chat with you about Whiskey Tail as well, when we were on here, because we've been working on a whiskey project for over 3 years now, called Whiskey Tail. And I think it's just kind of frustrating to kind of find, when we entered the whiskey market, we did not know that whiskey was one of the biggest monopolies in the world. And it's just like data monopolies and like whiskey monopolies, and just not even being able to get access to how much whiskey there is in the world, where it is, how old it is, what happens to it when it moves from, when it's in the cask, and then when it's, being matured and like it's distilling for a number of years, and how it's moved, and then as it's bottled, and then it ends up on a shelf somewhere, Sharon. And now I know the Asian market has gone crazy for whiskey at the moment, which is very exciting. We just got back from Hong Kong, and it was just amazing to see how much whiskey was there and like the appetite for it. So kind of it comes back to that kind of transparency level in different industries, and also how technology can be used in those industries. So what we're doing with Whiskey Tail is that we want to now start at the start with the data for the whiskey. So by the time, in 20 years' time, everybody will have like the proof of transparency on the liquid, to know that this is a 20-year-old, or this is a 12-year-old, this is an 8-year-old, this is how many times it was moved, this is what happened to it when it moved. Because I think that's how technology can just like really help to protect some markets. So now we're seeing so many distilleries going out of business. Like there, I don't know what you call them in India, but is it like the administrators or the receivers? Here it'd be like liquidators or receivers, with like sheets and sheets of whiskey that are just in warehouses that need to be, sold off in part, Sharon, and no idea if it's a 5 year, what's in the casks, like how long has it been maturing for? Like you're relying on like this paper document. You're like, yeah, but like where was it bottled, and who was the master distiller, and what was his story, and what was the story of the people that were making the whiskey? So that's what we wanted to, bring Whiskey Tail, TALE, to the market, because we want people to stop guessing when they're in a different city, when they're traveling with friends, going on holidays or going on stag do's. Where can they get the whiskey that they want to drink? You just don't know. You go into a bar anywhere and you're just like, oh, they have this whiskey or they have that whiskey. I just think it's such an opportunity, like what happened with gin, that suddenly there was a gin revolution, and now, gin is probably one of the most, drunk spirits that people drink currently. And I just think there's such a really cool opportunity for women to get on the whiskey revolution as well, because it is better for you. But I just think having access to being able to trust the drink that you're drinking, and then also to be able to open up the market to distillers that actually want to bring out great whiskey. That's not like, you see the whiskey that you get served in bars, because I didn't even know there was a thing called pouring rights, Sharon, where you get pouring rights from a big some of the big guys, and you're in contracts with them, and then there's no room for people to come in. So I'm very excited about the use of technology and the data, being able to go through all of this whiskey data, to locate it, to find out the stories of the people behind the whiskey, to sort of be able to bring something new to the market that's exciting as well, that people are interested in. So yeah, we're going to be, I think it's like by September, October, we're going to be making some big announcements on the whiskey project as well. So I just wanted to share that with your listeners, that any of them that like whiskey, just keep an eye on Whiskey Tale as well, because it's going to really start telling stories about the whiskey industry as well, which is exciting.
So Emergegen, so how it was developed, and who was the developers, and what was their motive to develop it?
So we're a husband and wife team. So the two co-founders, and Chris Harrison, who's our CEO, are the co-founders of the business. So I think three or four of the developers, I would say now they're kind of technologists, data science, PhD teams, have worked together in previous companies before, Sharon. So it's not the first time that they've put together something together, and they would be from previous companies themselves as well, with ideas and knowledge. So I think it's really important that they decided this time that they could bring something to the market that was going to be a real kind of an all-round kind of end-to-end competitor, like for big tech to kind of go, oh wow, like they don't really need us. Like I think it's that kind of a moment for Emergegen now, where Emergegen is like a standalone data platform, can integrate all the API calls that they can do. They can, partner with any big tech on the data flow, on the data pipeline, and the plumbing has been done so well that I think that is our greatest strength. Is that the plumbing is just like especially I suppose with quantum coming down the track so aggressively, to now already be doing quantum fusion, I think is very exciting. And I think it's also great because the guys are working on some open source stuff as well, which is really exciting for the team. I think just for the team, that it's just about innovation, and sometimes you're told that you need to focus on shipping this product, and you need this number of customers, and you need ARR, a certain amount of ARR. Those days are gone with what you can create now with technology. And I think that the market is finally waking up to, especially the VC side of things. I always joke, I've been joking the last few weeks about, like, not hearing this is super exciting when you're in these meetings with family offices and investors and partners in different markets, Sharon. You don't have to listen to somebody saying, oh, this is super exciting, and you might never hear back from them again. People want to know what the next frontier of technology is. And I think that's what's so exciting for me, when I'm constantly registering IP. I'm constantly on with our IP insurers, to see how we can insure our IP, what we can do with it, what patents we file, how we can protect and defend our own IP. And I think that's just the most interesting part of my role, is just, looking at the team every week, creating new IP. And it's like, guys, it's like we need, like, sometimes you just need to sell what you have. And I think that's really cool, that the customers that we have are also thinking about the future. The clients that we have are also thinking about the future. So they're thinking about kind of not where we are now, but where we're going to go. And then how can they be ready for the next wave of technology, which is quantum computing. So yeah, I'm very lucky to have a team that's just so innovative. But I guess it kind of brings its own challenges as well, because everybody needs to know that, we've solved this problem, we've solved that problem, we can do this for a client. And then after that, it's about scale. And that comes with your different funding levels as well. And I think that people sometimes lose sight of that in tech companies, because you speak to a lot of tech founders, and nobody wants to admit that, like, tech is hard. It's bad. It's mean. It's so mean, and it's so hard. And so you're not doing it for like awards. You're not doing it, because, oh wow, I'm so cool, I'm in a tech company. You're doing it because you can make a difference for the future. There's no other reason why you would do it, because it's so hard, and it's
Yeah,
so mean, and it's so terrible.
yeah.
it's really horrible, and it's really really mean. And I suppose just from experience with like other companies and stuff, and we had a really high profile corporate raid, very high profile, and you have to dust yourself down and realize why you started in the first place. I remember my son was saying to me after the last one, I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can go again. And he was like, Mom, just finish what you started. Just get in, dust yourself down and start building again. And that's what we did. And I'm glad we did, because now you can see that people are already kind of a little bit hung over from the whole AI, and then the whole AI kind of Gen AI, and you just think of like everything that you did has led you to this moment. And I think that's really important for a founder to realize that you can contribute. You can contribute to the community. You can contribute to the state of play where technology is today, and you can make a difference while you're doing it. And then just work with great people is Sharon for me is when I just see that the creativity within the team and what they're creating, and it's like, well, what can I do to help? All I could do is like protect their inventions, help them market it, help get them in the right rooms, go to the meetings, get in the rooms. I think it's really important, especially for females, to get in the rooms, because it will kind of spark a new energy, a new interaction, and new connections, because it's really important that you've got as many voices as possible when you're dealing with such incredibly important stage of technology development and adoption at the moment, to have as many as different voices as possible as well. But yeah, that's why we do it for the future. So that's why
So
we do it.
so you have mentioned future. So you are the AI that you have designed. Uh, I mean, is it how good it is in preparing for the possibilities of the future?
So I would say the kind of multi-terrestrial agents is sort of where things are looking for us at the moment, in terms of data centers in space, for example, or if they were like underground data centers, Sharon, as well. So a lot of our patents are around those use cases, and kind of been looking at synergies with Oracle, and ways of kind of protecting people's data, and protecting them from being like completely hacked, and encryption, and secure communication, cyber threats. This is the kind of stuff that we're working on. So we have a team that can kind of create a lot of things in synergy together. But remember that it all comes down to the foundational level, is that like how you use and protect your data, and their data if it's your client's data. So it's really important that we've always been putting that layer first. And I think it was a couple of months ago, Snowflake did a really nice blog about us, and they called us the unifier. So we've been able to unify the data across the whole organizational layer. And I think as well, and I think it was around about a year ago now, but like we were asking Grok, like what differentiates Emergegen, and Grok was telling us about a year ago that there was nobody doing end-to-end data stitching the whole way through the organization. So I just think that it's been like we've always been future proofing the next stage of evolution in Emergegen, and that's why we called ourselves Emergegen, because we chose the ant philosophy as well, Sharon, because we wanted to show that we're industrious, like we're always thinking ahead, we're always planning, we're working really, really hard. And also in the ant colony, that it is a female at the helm of the company as well. So I just think it's very important for people to recognize the strengths that women bring in a technology company, because we've got a lot of intuition, we've got a lot of empathy, and you kind of get a sense from the team is that they know that I'm protecting them. Not only their inventions, but obviously how we are in the market and what we're doing. And I think that that's why we've been very lucky this time, that we met with Aon very early. Aon is our IP insurers. So they've given us some amazing products whereby we can not only just protect our IP, and you, of course, like when you're a startup founder, you don't think you need to protect your IP from your shareholders. I mean, you would never think that. I mean, people start companies, right? And they don't think that their investors are going to be the ones that are going to come for your technology and take it and use it. I mean, you never think that because you're so naive when you start out. But having conversations with Aon and understanding that this happens a lot. Corporate rates are really normal. You have to brush yourself off and you have to go again and, put yourself out. But things as well, like being able to protect your subscriptions as well of your for your clients. So now the insurance companies are catching up and they're saying, well, if customers don't use AI because they're afraid to use AI, we will insure them to use AI. So the way the market is moving, I'm sort of like, this is so exciting. So we're consulting with Aon as to how people can ensure people adopting AI now, which is something that because we were in the adoption
Yeah.
phase, like trying to get people to adopt AI. Now, of course, everybody wants to use AI, but then they're thinking, oh, I'm going to lose my job if I get it wrong, or something's going to happen. So these consultations for me has been so rewarding to see that now the market is even catching up and they're prepared to insure customers to use our products as well. So I think that's been a very exciting part of the journey as well, just seeing how the market has to evolve. Because imagine you've got like the market is saying, oh, we must all use AI. And then it's like, yeah, but we're going to get penalized if we get it wrong or there's some harm happens. And now the insurance is saying, what if we insure it? If we insure the products, like you have product liability for AI, right? Then more people would feel better to use it because they're insured in case something goes wrong as well. So yeah, that's very cool. That's been very cool this year. So I would recommend anybody that's listening as well to insure their IP because once your investors know you've got insurance and that you've got everything registered, you've got your IP registered, they're going to think twice about coming for your IP. And of course, if they ask you to see your policy, don't show it to them. Don't say no, because they might say, "Oh, by the way, could we just see what you're insured, what you're actually insured for?" And obviously, don't share your insurance policy with any potential investors as well. It's not a good idea.
Sure. And at last, what do you say about Emergent to the listeners and to the business owners and to the technology experts for watching and listening to this conversation from anywhere on this planet?
I would just say, don't be afraid to speak to um, really smart startups. You will have to get like over more, of course, more hoops internally to be able to onboard a startup. But before you go off and you spend millions of dollars with a big, massive company, um, get an opinion from a more leaner company like Emergegen and really other exciting companies out there at the moment doing secure AI, because a lot of this knowledge comes from the engineers previous companies. And it's not just on the surface, it's not just what they're selling, it's what they have the potential to bring to your company. And maybe become a design partner with a startup. Don't be afraid to become a design partner, and don't be a jerk. Make sure that they have enough money to be able to like do the project and deliver it. And then, like, obviously in the success rate, then you get to keep the use case, for example. There's lots of ways to work with startups. And we just had a call yesterday now with AWS, and they were asking would we be interested in doing some design partner stuff with them. We're like, yeah, sure, but let's just keep our IP and your IP separate. I mean, it's very exciting working with like big tech partnerships, but they cost you a lot of your time, the team's effort on the engineering side. So you have to kind of like choose your partners wisely as well. And I think as well, if you're working with a partner and you're not getting kind of leads and you're not in the customer workflow with them, then you kind of know straight away that you're just educating them, and you can't keep educating the whole market. At some stage, you kind of have to, grow up and like stop showing off to showing what you have, show and tell, right? You have to be able to just stay focused on what you're doing, but solve problems for your customers. I would say that's the most important thing. So for any other startups listening to this, I would say choose your technology partnerships really wisely. They'll suck a lot of your time. You'll educate them a lot. So I would always like start with a customer, say, let's do a customer together. See how the relationship flows before you go deeper into the partnership. Because even traveling to their conferences and meeting their customers, you're making them look good because you're so innovative and you're so exciting. But then after the conference, you might not have the follow up on the leads, or the sales team mightn't be as engaged with you because that's going to affect their commission if they sell your solution and not their solution. So these are all things I think when you're building something very exciting, kind of just choose your partners wisely. But I think for customers, definitely look to startups because otherwise big tech are just going to suck up all the startups anyway. That's what's going to happen. I mean, at some stage there's going to be a big crash coming soon, to a town near you, and loads of companies are going to get bought up again. And that's just like the rules of the game, Sharon. You have to have the right investors at the right time, the right product at the right time, and it's all timing, And you're delusional if you think that, that you're not lucky enough or that this didn't happen. It's most likely 98% timing. 98% timing, I would say. And also, I would think that um, in our previous company and the one before that as well, I was very big on culture, right? Like it was a big part of the organization. And at this time, I went a different way. We spent all of our time on strategy. So we mapped out a strategy plan. So I would be sort of like the strategist in the company. And so we were looking at the way the market was going, what was happening, the data monopolization, what was going to have to happen, where agentic AI was going. And then we decided that we were going to go secure AI. And then we were going to start bringing in the quantum communication side. But we couldn't have done that if we didn't build Data Central first. So that's why we focused on the strategy first. So I would say to startups as well, and even scale ups, get a strategy in place and stick to the strategy. And even if it's wrong, you've gone for that hard, really, really hard. Because if you spend all your time on culture and then you've got a bad cultural fit, you have bad hires, it just turns the culture into like a difficult place to innovate because you're thinking all the time about our culture. So I think that until you're at a stage where you can embed a culture and you don't have risks, I think that strategy should come first. So that would just be another thing that I don't know. How do you feel about that? Are you a strategy or a culture person?
Yeah, after
Are
listening
you,
to you.
are you more strategy or culture?
Yeah, I mean, I have learned so many things from you about the strategy and about the strategies.
Cool. I think it's a good plan. It's a good plan. Strategy first, man.
Correct. So, can you spell your website to my podcast listeners?
Yeah, so Emergegen, Emergegen.ai, Emergegen.ai. Thank
So,
you so much,
another,
Taryn. It
yeah,
was lovely speaking to you.
sure. And at last, what's your observation about my work? You have seen my work.
I love the conversations, the candid conversations, and how natural your guests have been. And I think that's what it was that kind of got me to click on the button because like LinkedIn is just a spam fest right now. So to kind of, and also I thought your imagery was really good with the flags and that as well. It kind of caught my eye because I was like, you know what, I do have an Irish voice and I'm very passionate about my country. I love my country. I don't live there anymore. But I absolutely love my country and my people. So that's why I wanted to promote that. I'm an Irish founder as well.
So, I've done masters in software engineering, also bachelor's in computer science and engineering. Right now,
Oh,
I'm working as a
brilliant.
DevOps engineer for a London company remotely from India. So that's my full-time role. Apart from that, I'm interviewing experts like you, how building things for designing things and for making things to help humanity in different ways to solve their problems. It can be a business problem
Brilliant.
or a social problem. So me having this conversations with entrepreneurs, being an engineer, how this is going to be helpful for me in my career and in my future, as per your observation?
I think that it's going to give you insights into things that go wrong that have nothing to do with what people are trying to build, external things that are uncontrollables because you don't know how people, employees, customers are going to respond in different situations. And it's kind of looking at that, like I suppose, because at the moment we're doing a lot around quantum. It's just like in the quantum realm at another time when it kind of splits off. I think it's really important not to personalize anything in the organization as well, Charles. So like if you're getting feedback from, your line manager or for somebody that you work with or even like a co-founder, you have to remember that there's so many things going on in their lives as well. It has nothing to do with us. And I didn't realize that early on is that like I used to personalize a lot of things. So I think that like not personalizing anything and kind of just seeing that, okay, we're on a strategy, we've got something to do, and we want to get that done. I think that's really important to stay focused on the task at hand. And ultimately, because, you mentioned humanity, it's that how can I be a contribution? So is what I'm doing today, like obviously is what you're doing today contributing to changing anything for you or your colleagues or the world or your family or your friends. I think that's really important. It's just little examples, like we set up a hobby horse club for the kids in our local community, and last week they all made their own hobby horses. It's only a little thing, but you should see their faces when they saw these horses. I was like, I think it cost like $1,000 to like get the tree sewing machines and all the ladies and all the kids together. But like the memories that they have from that day will last them a lifetime. So sometimes you can see how your contributions, and like sometimes people say to me, oh, you work so hard, you travel so hard, why do you do it? I was like, so I can do things like the hobby horse day for the kids. It's about the impact that you can make in your community. And then if more people hear about what you're doing, then you can make more of an impact. And that comes with trying to, get more money or get an exit so you have more money to do good things. So I think for you, the position that you're in is like, how can I do more and contribute more? And I think that's what you can learn from founders, because they're not doing it, for themselves. You could be guaranteed. Most of the people that you meet have taken big risks. They're doing big things. They're going out there and they're attracting a lot of hate because they're doing things differently. So I think that that's really good for you to like have these interactions, so you can see that it's really hard. It's really hard, but you know that it's going to have a big impact, right? So like if our company goes public next year, like they're seeking for it to go public, just think of like all the goodness that our team are going to do, because they're really good humans, right? They want to do good things. So if we do a good IPO and they all have stock, and they're all going to do great things in their communities as well. So a lot of the time it's about that. So I think that's the good part of it.